Hi everyone, and welcome back to Jim Vernon Solutions, the Learn HTML tutorial using W3 Schools. We're in the HSL subchapter of the colors chapter, and we're going to try and wrap this up with going through the try it yourself exercises. The previous video covered what the codes actually mean, and so what we're going to do in the try it yourself exercises is try to recreate more or less what we did in the try it yourself for the RGB and hex subchapters. So if we look at this first one, what we're going to do is try and make that green shade a pure green by making it 120, 100% saturation, and 50% lightness. I change the labels as well, and we'll see exactly that. So if we run this, over on the right you see a pure red, a pure blue, and a pure green. I'm going to pause this and then try to recreate a little bit more. It's a little bit easier actually in this one to recreate a more variety of colors that are standard. So after that pause, you can see that what I've done is I've arranged the hues from 0 to 360 by increments of 60, and I've set the saturation at 100%, the lightness at 50% to match these first three here. And now when I run it, it's going to change the order, but it's going to give me the colors, essentially the main points on the color wheel. If you think of the circle as being divided into 6, you start with red, you go to yellow, which is between red and green. After green, you go to aqua, which is between green and blue, or cyan, I guess. And then between blue and red, you have violet. Notice the other thing here, which is that the hue of 0 and the hue of 360 are identical, which is exactly what you expect if you're dividing the circle into 360 degrees. So that's the first try it yourself, and now let's move on to saturation. Let's take a quick look at the example, and we can see we're varying the middle number here, and we're going, if we look at the try it yourself, we have the pure color up at the top, we have the pure gray at the bottom. Let's actually just change each of the colors from red to green. And we'll see the exact same shading from pure color to pure gray when we rerun it, except that the top is now the pure green. Bottom, notice, didn't change at all. And then let's move to the lightness, where you can see when we go from 0% to 100%, we go from pure black to pure white, and the pure color is actually a lightness of 50%. So we come in here, again, let's change that red to green. It won't change the top and bottom rows because they're going to be pure black and pure white again, no matter what, but the ones in between will change to various, right? Let's change the labels. And sure enough, when we rerun, we get the exact same results at the top and the bottom, black and white, but we now get shades of green in here. You might notice the second one looks a lot closer to the color name green. The third one is what I would call the pure green. And then let's look at shades of gray. We can also do this in the tutorial. If you see, what they've done is just set the hue to 0 and the saturation to 0. With saturation of 0, then the lightness simply changes. If we go in here, let's actually array this with a few more. I'll pause for a second. So what you can see that I've done is I've just gone on the lightness from 0% to 100% instead of just the 20 to 90 over here. So when I run it, I just get a broader spectrum. And then one other thing we should probably do is see what happens if we change the hue. And you can see that when I change the hue to green, when we rerun it, it makes no difference at all. So really the only thing that matters is making the saturation 0 and then varying the lightness will give you all the shades of gray that you possibly need. You can leave whatever colors you want in there. Okay, and then let's wrap this up with the final try it yourself, which is the HSLA. We're going to be seeing the tomato color in here, and you can see from the colors here, when we are taking the alpha channel from 0, it's completely transparent. You can see there's nothing at all except the background. And then all the way up to 1, which in this case is the tomato color, and it's going to be the completely opaque or pure version. And so let's just change each of these to a red. And so to wrap this up, you can see what I've done here is I've made the precise decimals just to make it easier to read the HTML on the left, and I've added some increments. So we're going from 0.0 to 1.0 on the alpha channel, and I'm also going in between 0.6 and 0.7 to recreate what we did for the RGB and hex. And in fact, if you look at the right hand side, you can see you get the fine gradations, you get the one in the exact middle, and you can see that 0.65 is actually a slightly different level of opacity compared to 0.6 or 0.7. So that wraps up the HSL and the colors chapter for Learn HTML.